All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NWO Show, your source for everything New World. We're here, we're having a great time, and we have an incredibly large amount of information to go through based on what's happened in the last week, based on what's coming up, and we have breaking news right off the start, starting with New World Update 1.2.1.
Can we just very quickly use something, though?
Yes.
Just a real quick kind of thing. If you didn't watch our episode last week, it was our 2-year anniversary show. We gave out gifts, including a $70 Steam gift card. We talked about server mergers. We talked about an interview with Scott Lane on PC Games N. We talked about Amazon data collection discrepancies, an update on housing taxes, and a good old company Q&A. So if you guys want to watch that, it's on our YouTube. Anyway,
absolutely.
Breaking news.
Yes, straight to the breaking news. New World Update 1.2.1. I before we dive into this, I also wanted to have an aside. We also have started a partnership with NewWorldDatabase.com, or NWDB.info. My bad, I completely whiffed on the actual address. NWDB.info, one of the sites we use pretty consistently for all kinds of stuff, including their map, their builds system is phenomenal, and of course the database itself, which also includes the PTR database.
Yeah, the database is second to none. Like, in terms of accurate information and stuff, like, it's a gold mine, man. Like, you guys should definitely check it out. Like, if you guys have any questions or any sort of queries about any sort of item in the New World kind of universe, pretty much, right? It's most likely in there in some way, shape, or form. You can check it out and give you some good data.
Absolutely.
I think if you're you're a website builder, there's also even an ability for you to be able to tooltip stuff.
XYO actually runs the website. He's a great guy. He's put in a ton of effort into the site, and it definitely shows. So, all right, so let's talk about 1.2.1. So, this week's update is focused on resolving some of the issues that have arisen from our December update. Our development team is continually working on improving the New World experience, and they thank you for your patience and reports as we continue that you continue to make on the official forums. The changes that they've listed here. They've restricted coin lockboxes earned from the Tree of Light to players level 15 and above to coincide with the event quest, or coincide when the event quests are enabled for players. Apologies. This change is implemented to discourage bad actors from repeatedly creating new characters in an attempt to exploit the availability of coin. This was surprisingly easy to do, so I was very surprised to see the coin values, and I was just waiting to see how that was going to be abused. So
this is one of those things which is like, it's so simple. It kind of like, they didn't see it because it was right in front of them almost as such.
Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that they would have to make a change like this, but it's not going to impact a ton of people, and this should be overall a great thing. Reduce the amount of characters that can be created per day per account. I'm assuming likely for the same reason. They fixed an issue causing Azoth balances to not update after fast traveling or crafting. I actually experienced that one. Azoth balances should now adjust to the amount spent, or to show the amount spent when traveling or crafting. I ran into that and I was like, it still says I have 300 Azoth, and I was like, you can't travel at all. It's like, why? It's only 15 Azoth. Like, why can't I travel? And I was like, oh, you have none.
That's not what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So they also fixed an issue that caused potions to drop at multiple gear scores, resulting in inventory stacking issues. Oh, that bug came back.
First time I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this. I hope this doesn't stay because this is going to get really tedious."
Yes. To enable a level playing field for players, we reset the faction cooldown time for all players. Once players choose a faction, the duration of the cooldown will be set to 60 days. This is a huge thing. Because of all of the server merges, they also want people to be able to move around and join other groups, and the groups that you merged into might not want to stay in the faction that they're in. This will make it possible for players to also participate in balancing servers. They don't say that explicitly in here, but frankly, that's actually what the company we joined and what we were planning to do when we were running our company, was to basically hold on to our faction change until the merge happened, and then see what, where it landed. So it's actually nice to be able to change to Syndicate, and then again be able to change to another one if needed. But I actually think we're in a pretty healthy spot right now.
You know what it reminds me of? I've been watching like Formula One over the past like month or so. It reminds me of like, getting that free pit stop in when there's a safety car.
Yes. Yes.
Some of you will get that out there, some of you won't. It's fine, but that's what it reminds me of.
The last thing they fixed is an issue that occasionally caused the Weaver's Needed Town Project mission for the Winter Convergence not to be completed if attempted to craft in Everfall. Which, hey, that's all fair right there. It makes total sense to me. So overall, a small patch, but should actually have some wide-ranging impacts on ensuring that coin doesn't go crazy, as people probably are taking some leave. I would assume that if there is a patch between Christmas and New Year's, it'll likely be another small one, as we can pretty much assume that the devs are probably taking some time off here. Hence the massive amount of information that they dumped before Christmas. That's probably so that we have enough to cover going into the future. Let me see if I can find the actual quote here.
Until they come back and start putting out updates and various different things start happening.
Yes.
But I think the fact that obviously we've been talking about it throughout the pre-show, and also obviously covering the 1.2.1 patch. It is a patch to the winter conversion, the winter update patch, which includes the winter winter conversion, but also it includes all of the gypsum updates, all of the expertise updates, all of the updates to end level content that have been rebalanced for the expertise and gypsum kind of system coming in. So there's all of that happened since Tuesday.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to know when the downtime is, that's the downtime that's set specifically for Aza's time zone. So if you're in eastern, if you're on the eastern seaboard in the United States, that's the time for the when the downtime starts.
Yep. So it'll be middle of the night for pretty much everybody, barring Australia. Of which, apologies to them. They have a tendency to get shafted with downtimes. Like EVE Online's downtime is in the same time frame. But unfortunately, that's also when the least amount of players are playing. Which is what it is. So moving right along, we've also got Prime Gaming. If you have Prime Gaming, Amazon Prime, etc., make sure to go check out. I posted the exclamation point loot. Gets you the info on the exact page to go to. You can claim the Thespian pack, which is this guy right here. I'm not going to open it up because unfortunately what I've noticed is every time I open it up, it displays my freaking email address. So
might not be the best.
Learned my lesson last time.
Yeah, just about.
So that pack is available. Right now, there's some debate of, this is seemingly the end of the list. They could just make this a sliding bar, and all kinds of things they could do with that. But yeah,
I'm sure some UI guy will sort that out.
Yeah. So free stuff on that front. Let's also talk about free stuff on another front. Winter Convergence giveaway. This, all you got to do is log into the game and collect these every 2 days. The current ones are the gloves and the mistletoe.
So essentially what you do is when you get into game, you just go to the store. There'll be kind of like featured items, and typically those featured items will be Winter Convergence giveaways. You go to there and it'll literally sort of say, I can't remember what it actually said, like unlock or something of that form, right? And then you just click it and it asks you to unlock for zero tokens, whatever it is. And yeah, there you are. But those will be coming every 2 days. So apparently, I believe every 2 days there's going to be a new couple of items.
Yes. Providing a couple answers in chat there as well. Basically, tomorrow your faction cooldown timers will be reset. So that should solve your problem.
Fantastic.
I like being able to help. That's a painful problem to have, and the devs have thought, hey, since the merger and all that, it makes sense to do this. So should make things quite nice for everybody.
It may not help you if you're trying to swap to the faction that is the dominant faction on the server that you're on.
Yes.
So just remember that.
Yes, it may cause some people to want to switch groups and switch factions to the non-dominant faction.
Hopefully.
Apparently.
I mean, it always gets a little bit more interesting when that happens.
Yeah. So, moving right along, we also have drops coming up. So for those that don't know, Wheel of Time, a series that has been recreated in a TV type format by Amazon Prime Video, naturally has some ability here to do some crossplay and some cross promotion with some really cool looking outfits. So Wheel of Time is going to have its own drops that'll be exclusive to Twitch drops. So the only way to get them is, as they state, the more you watch, the more you earn. Watch 7 cumulative hours of New World drops-enabled streams between December 23rd and January 12th. So there's a pretty big window to get them. To earn all the items from the drop. So hey, that's nice. Pretty awesome. This is going to include cloaks, coats, blades, and company crests. So there should be some decent stuff to get. It all looks pretty good, and sorry, I'm pushing an ad back because it's yeah. Oh, here. I suppose I can actually show you guys the coming soon picture. It's hidden a little bit. I had another... One second. I got a better image than this.
Yeah.
I know I have a better image than this.
I'm surprised you didn't, lead with that image. I guess it didn't have the text and stuff, so it's understandable. Here we go.
There it is. So,
it's a proper look.
Yes. Now, the funny thing is, naturally I end up with images that, are definitely not the one from their site. So, it's always a question of where I find these things.
I wonder.
Yeah. And of course, in other true fashion, I've got a better image of the giveaway than the most recent tweet as well. God forbid I pull up the right ones here. And here's the giveaway stuff. So we're already past the poinsettia and the hunter's coat, the hunter's trappers and fur, and we're into the hunter's gloves and mistletoe. From there, the shiver emote will be the 23rd and the 24th. The 25th through the 27th will be the hunter's hood and wreath. So,
excellent.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go.
I think I missed the coat.
And there's Scott Lane doing a near perfect impression of James Halliday, as I completely misclick the. This is why I try and set things up before the show starts, and inevitably misclick something. But yeah, so we've got some good sword skins coming. We've got, you know, kind of some really cool cloaks and outfits coming. So those should all be pretty cool. I'm assuming they're all going to be skins instead of like in-game items. Just seeing the way that they're set up, I would assume they will be.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And yeah. So
yeah, that's very katana-like. It might not have,
excited,
it doesn't have
excited for that, and I'm actually excited to see what they do with some other, like, they have a lot of different options here, and they have a lot of different, like, opportunities with the content that they're making. So, like, Dune, for example. You know,
yeah, actually. Well,
you know,
yeah,
you could see some of the crossover in that. You know, Witcher. Somebody brought that up in the pre-show. Witcher would be a perfect crossover for this. You know,
they'd have to see if they can get the licensing for it. That would be pretty cool.
You know, as long as they stick with stuff that seems period related or you know, within the realm of
I mean,
within the realm of
like,
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, within the realm of like believability for the New World kind of universe, as it were. But then again, there's a lot about the sort of the extended aspects of Eternum and New World in general that like we don't actually know. Like we were given hints about it, like going back to interviews long since past, right? You know, there's been interviews where, you know, I think was it actually Scott Lane who said it, or was it one of the other guys, like talking about how New World is sort of a time bending epic, or you know, they basically made hints about the fact that like it may, you know, we may be crossing a lot of different time, you know, thresholds of time, that kind of thing, in terms of, you know, potential content coming into the game. So I don't know, like, and the location that they seem to hint with regards to where Eternum is meant to be on, you know, on the planet, on Earth, seems to sort of indicate kind of Bermuda Triangle-esque sort of thing. And like, I don't know if you ever sort of looked up like things that have apparently disappeared into the Bermuda Triangle. Like planes have disappeared, you know, ships have disappeared, like, you know, actual, like not like sea galleys and stuff like that, but like actual like World War, like modern ships. Well, not modern ships, but like, you know, definitely things that would look a little bit out of the ordinary for you know, the typical New World sort of stuff. So I don't know, there might be interesting things ahead.
Absolutely. And that said, there's the number of ways that they could choose to expand the game beyond where it's at, and give plausible reasons for it, which really creates a lot of opportunity. I think we're going to see that when eventually we see Brimstone Sands, because that expansion is going to add in the Romans. It's going to add in some other factions that I can't talk about, and and of course, you know, a whole new zone into the game. You know, like there's a ton of other stuff, and of course, we've also seen things like the Vikings, where the art is there. There's already a couple of sets of armor in game for them, but we haven't really seen them on the island yet.
I think one crossover we can kind of be sure that it's not going to happen is probably a Lego crossover.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't think there's going to be a Lego crossover for New World.
Unless like pocket sand becomes a thing. Or like, you know, it would. I think it'd be quite comical if like the trap was replaced with a Lego for the musket.
What? You step on a Lego brick, like
It's roughly the same amount of stun. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, so that's definitely an option. We're excited to see where that goes, and naturally, you know, there's so many opportunities for this game to go in different directions. They seem to have their head on their shoulders with what to fix. They've been listening to the community about when their ideas don't mesh with what the community wants, and I think we're starting to see the new world that we should have seen.
Yeah.
And yeah. So this leads us directly into server merges. So for those that have been living under a bridge for why? Just
well, what's up?
Oof.
You having some issue with how the
like apologies for the seizure warning on this, but basically all server merges have been completed as of yesterday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. For some servers it took substantially longer than it needed, or longer than it was planned to, but it is up. The Discord. The reason. So here's I'll answer this because this is there's a common misconception. There's two reasons for this. One, the first and foremost thing is that phone number gets tied to your Discord account as a way of validating your account. It also is a good opportunity to set up two-factor authentication. The channels don't actually get, like, the server doesn't actually get to see that. But what it does is, as a moderation setting, we only allow people who have a validated phone number through Discord, and it reduces bots by dramatic amounts because they don't go through that much trouble to set that up. I know it's kind of a painful thing, but
it's for like, honestly, if you haven't validated and you haven't got put together two-factor authentication on Discord, like, you really should do.
Yes.
Like, it's honestly, it's the best thing that you could do. Like, the best, 5 minutes that you can spend today, specifically if you use Discord a lot, the best thing that you can do for 5 minutes, like, throughout the whole of today, regardless of what you've done today, is to set up two-factor authentication and phone verification through Discord. Yeah, and we don't see your phone number. We don't get your phone number in any way, shape, or form. Like, that is entirely through Discord. So,
yes.
So all server mergers have happened.
Yes.
And
so all server mergers
happened. Imagine a lot of people have noticed that there's a lot more wars going on, it seems.
Yes. Just about every server has many, if not most, of the territories in conflict. because there's a lot of people being merged in that had territory that want it back badly. And this is going to be a lot of fun to see where things land. See where the shift of power goes to. The other side of this is that now servers are going to have the appropriate amount of people, so territory is going to have the value that it should have had. So you're going to see more territories with higher level upgrades. Wars being harder because those upgrades to the fort are going to be possible due to the added income as well being a thing. So it's gonna make things real fun.
Plus, I think there's definitely been a few people out there that have been in low pop servers that haven't really been able to, experience Outpost Rush because of the amount of people, that have been queuing up for that on their server, because their server's been low pop, and they've now started to actually properly experience Outpost Rush, which is, I think, I still think it's a fantastic game mode.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, after a little while, it can be a little bit repetitive, but like nowhere near as repetitive as, doing the same MyrkGuard run, for example, again and again and again, or running breaches all the time, right? So yeah.
So the other side of this is that you're also going to be able to hopefully find more groups to run expeditions with, which ties into another discussion later on. So remind me that that's a thing. But basically, this is a solid win for everybody. We all get to play with more people. It's an MMO, so playing with more people is a good thing. It's going to make things more challenging in some ways. It's going to make them more competitive. It's going to make things overall more interesting and more unique and dynamic situations happen. So I know I, for one, am very much happy with what I've seen so far.
Yeah,
now,
me too.
Here's where we can dive into what happened last week.
Since the last show.
Yes, since the last show, the Winter Convergence Festival update, the December update, dropped. This was a surprisingly large update.
It was funny because like when they dropped it, I thought, oh, it's just the Winter Convergence stuff. Fair enough. And you scroll and it's like, there's the Winter Convergence stuff. And then there's like a bit of a break with some like imagery, and I didn't scroll, and I thought it was just the Winter Convergence stuff, and then I realized, oh shit, there's actually a hell of a lot more underneath this. So there's that. Oh no, hang on, you have to go to the actual no. Oh. Yeah, they released
missing full update notes. There it is. There we go. Sorry, wrong page.
So you get that.
Yeah, we got the festival
stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I saw this and I was like, okay, yeah, that's the end of the update. And then I was like, oh, actually, no, there's a lot more here. Because they included the end game stuff, which is all the expertise and all the gypsum stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that's in. Obviously, if you've been playing anytime since the weekend, you know this.
So to answer the question, we are not AGS. We are not Amazon Games. However, we are content creators within their creator program. So we run specifically New World content at the moment. But just in case any impression out there that we're developers or anything, we are not. But we do happen to know a few of them.
Yep. And because we're not developers, we can we can be fairly free in terms of our criticism about New World.
Yes. So in this, they also talked about increasing the rewards for expeditions, introducing the timeless shards for crafting. They adjusted the 2 points of interest, Malevolence and Imperial Palaces, and North Dynasty Shrine elite POIs are now both level 66, so it gives a lot more option.
That's actually really useful, because the other thing is, like, because Malevolence and Imperial Palace in Ebon Scales now, a high level kind of POI for elites, that means that that's spread out the content as well, because a lot of the content was essentially just concentrated very heavily up in the north, in Shadowed Mountain, that kind of area. Now it's kind of spread out a little bit more, which is actually fantastic.
Absolutely. It gives more locations for different groups. If one location is just packed with people, you can take your people to other places, and there's basically more places to go around instead of all focusing on one and hoping you get on the kill. And they've made a number of updates to MyrkGuard, reduce the difficulty of corrupted alkalites, cooked priests, ogres, and commanders, added an elite chest to the upper harrow in MyrkGuard, near the named commander Arcos Imperator. Some changes to Ebonscale Reach, some changes to the Imperial Palace, Scorpius difficulty adjustments, and they go on. And then, of course, it continues. And continues, and they add more quests, they add more fixes, and removed many of the prereqs from things. Combat and AI adjustments, PvP damage formula updates, crit damage application updates, buffer windows, dodges, navigations, perks, new perks being added or changed. Tons of stuff. Outpost Rush. Initial spawns now have barriers preventing enemies from leaving or entering. This this doesn't necessarily solve the problem. It prevents some things that I like, but the solution is basically they need to have like 3 exits, all with this same barrier mechanic, so that you can split and get people. They can't cover all exits, so you can't get pinned in there. Like, it would be better to have multiple exits with this system. I think that would add a lot to it, and it would make life so much better and prevent some of the spawn camping, which prevents getting out and actually fighting over the bases. Which is, of course, what they want to have happen. You want fights to feel less one-sided, and when you're all camped into your base, that's impossible. And unfortunately, this mechanic actually causes more of a trickle out of the base, and not a large rush. So we'll see if we can continue to push the barrier on that one. I know I've been providing some feedback on that. And yeah, now you would think that this is already a lot. We're a third of the way through the list here.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
They fixed a whole bunch. The weapons got updated, buffs, nerfs, and not really buffs and nerfs per se on most of them. It's really just fixing stuff.
Really. Yeah.
Fixing glitches, fixing how stuff is supposed to actually work. But substantial amount of bug fixes there across almost all weapons. They've fixed issues across many of the AI types. Expedition AIs, they fixed issues there. Fixed issues that made certain ones much easier to run. For instance, Simon Gray accidentally consuming himself, which whoopsies. One of the biggest ones, I think, in this entire thing is that in the depths, Darkness Call's Fire Ring will now apply a single tick of damage and burn when players run into it, instead of just completely randomly and killing you almost every time. Regardless of your gear score, Fire Charge will now rapidly applies to 3 stacks of burn. Burn is now capped at 3 stacks instead of 5, so when you are burning, your healer has a chance to actually heal you. Novel concept.
Not just like look at you while you just burn
burst into flames and die in a pile of ash.
Pile of ash on the floor, yeah. Well, yeah, that happened.
Oh god, there's so many things like that that was probably the most frustrating experience ever, because I got stuck at the end of Depths, where the first time I had run it, I didn't have any problems. The second time, we're sitting in the last room, restarting it for the god knows how many time, where we've repaired our gear so many times that, you get to the point where you're like, I am out of repair parts, I'm out of repair kits, I'm nearly out of money, I just want this to be over. I don't care if we finish anymore.
Let this end.
And you're turning around to your level 60s and in company, like, for the love of God, come help me.
Genius.
So tons of other fixes. AI affixes, adjusted slicer, decreased spawn rate from 1 slicer every 5 seconds to 1 slicer every 10 seconds. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. But they've increased the duration,
so painful.
So yeah. Instead of having 2 or 3 different slices down, there's obviously going to be only one, but it's going to be around for a longer period of time, basically.
Yes. So those were big ones. Fix an issue where standing on top of a slicer would not continue to apply damage. That one's also, give and take. Certain circumstances you could get out of taking damage, but they also fixed economy, progression, and loot in this. Upon reaching 200 on the skill trade, the leveling circle in the UI will update to show 3 markers equidistant from each other on the circle. Basically, as you continue to level past 200, it's going to give you rewards each time you hit one of those, and it's going to track, for posterity's sake, how many levels above 200 you have. So you can turn around and say, hey, I've got 200, but I've also got 750 additional levels past that. For anybody on my server who thought that it would be a really good idea to do that with cooking, I'm sorry, I beat you to it. Good try, but not fast enough. Basically bought out anything that was sub 1 coin, on the entire market for all food items, and then crafted into tier 5 food. Good times. Okay. I have so many vials of Azoth from that. It's unbelievable. They introduced trade skill XP.
Yeah.
They introduced equipment patterns to guarantee the look of a piece of equipment at the end of its crafting. Refining. They've added recipes so you can find 250 of the T5 raw ore, wood and fiber, or rawhide into 1 legendary material. For instance, you can now convert 250 orichalcum ore into 1 tolvium, which is huge. I use so many string beans, it's not even funny. String beans and coconuts. Coconuts for days.
I don't think what they mean for you to convert there is string beans into tolvium.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Sorry. Back to the prior topic there. So orichalcum ingots can now also be crafted with platinum as well as star metal. This will give platinum an actual use in game, and hopefully increase its value from nothing. So, loot. They've added a number of additional loot, changed the way certain items will drop. On the crafting side of things, they've removed corrupted shards and lodestone as a requirement for ingredients to craft arena keys. and added 5 runestones.
Yeah, it's just making the process of making arena keys just a lot easier.
Is there any way to make the game more fun for the mid-game leveling? I got bored at the mid. Bored out of my mind at the level 30 because it seemed like it was waste time doing the same thing over and over again. I like the gameplay and the aesthetics. Really fun to find something fun to do in the game. Any advice? Yes. Find a group.
It is kind of worthwhile finding a group. They've also AGS are also sort of trying to help with the sort of in terms of mid game, trying to get through the various different barriers that kind of are there when it comes to some of the expedition sort of content. You know, because that specifically does require multiple people to sort of run. It can kind of stun your progress if you're like a solo player. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's a massive multiplayer game. Like you should kind of be, you know, at least trying to make some friends, or you know, be sort of at least a little bit, you know, a little bit social.
Yes.
But they are
now the other thing that actually like helps add some fun to this is when you're running the quest, actually read the prompt.
No, that does help, yeah. Because
it helps actually kind of bring you into it. I'm of the same mindset of Asmongold, and that's a rarity. But the game needs more cinematics. Needs cinematics because like the only one that's really there is, you know, meeting Father Rousseau in the tavern prior to leaving, and that's not even you. That's a bit of
cinematics. It could do so long as they have like a, you know, as long as they get the in-game animations kind of like really like down really well.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the sub, by the way.
They could do dynamic camera shifts, you know, at certain points of the story and that kind of thing, just to make the, you know, make the storyline or just make the sort of sell the kind of like the emotive aspect of the story a little bit better, a little bit more to sort of the player. You know, I was kind of expecting that they would do a little bit more dynamic camera shifting, but they didn't really. So hopefully they bring that in a little bit more.
Yes. I think there's a few things they could do to make it a little bit more immersive, and give some more, so there's another thing we're going to talk about, and it got brought up, but I want to have that conversation. Mr. Pigbinks, we're going to talk about that. Remind me shortly. Remind me shortly. You'll know when the time comes, because I'll probably, you know. So anyways, they also made some changes to fishing, some, you know, tons of bug fixes, UI, UX, and social. Huge changes there. The Winter Convergence event, of course, December endgame update, perks, outpost rush weapons, like, yeah. Needless to say, that was tons of stuff.
That was the section that they specifically sectioned off to say that like all of this stuff here was specifically, you know, down to player reporting and sort of like feedback from players.
Yes. So, when this next thing got sent to me, because we're going to move on from this, when this next thing got sent to me, I was surprised and a little afraid.
We can actually. Oh, okay.
So.
Oh yes.
For those that don't know, this guy right here, and I'm gonna pause it on a more flattering still.
He's more than just a community host for the, you know, and I think he refers to himself at the intro as like, I'm like one of the community guys, like. Dude, you're more than just one of the community guys.
Yes.
Like,
So for those that don't know, Greg's actual job beyond being the community host, which I'm assuming is a informal title, is he's also the creator relations lead for New World, i.e. somebody that we talk with relatively frequently. Or depending on the day, I talk to him and he looks at it and grimaces at how I somehow have information that I shouldn't have.
Or because he's actually more than just the New World community lead. He's like
yes.
Thing is, he's Amazon Games in general community lead. So like he
So he also does Lost Ark and other projects that are in development.
So sometimes trying to talk to Greg is a little bit difficult because he's in the middle of something that may not be heavily in sort of like in terms of the New World department, but like if it's another game that Amazon are kind of dealing with, or sort of publishing, for example, then yeah, he could be heavily into that, and doesn't really have the time to be able to speak. But yeah,
absolutely. Also, for those that are questioning, I too want that hoodie. Like the question will be asked. I'm assuming the answer is going to be it's not on the store.
Yeah, it's not on the store.
So anyways, they launched this, and I was actually legitimately surprised by this, because in the past we've seen developer blogs that are a couple minutes long, to 5 minutes long, talking about a very specific thing. This was almost a wholesale difference in how they operated. And I'm gonna pause here again and note that this is an hour and a half long, and goes into topics that frankly you gotta have, like, as a studio, you gotta have some serious cojones to go into and talk about in the way that they do, because they talk about hey, why we're doing this, why have these discussions, what's happening in the new world, what's the direction of the game, and I'm actually going to pull up a.
And the thing is, it's good that they're doing this. Like, yeah, fair enough. Other games companies have been doing this for a while, but like, you have to understand that this, yeah, fair enough. Amazon Games is a subsidiary of Amazon, and Amazon are huge kind of thing. But like, this is Amazon's first like legitimate, AAA release.
Yes.
And it hasn't really been out for too long. It's been out for like 3 months, like less than 3 months, between 2 and 3 months so far. So, like, I'm glad that at this particular point that they're already doing this kind of stuff.
Yes.
So that's fantastic.
So somebody on Reddit actually did a really good TLDR of this.
So thank you very much, Lone Wolf.
Yes. I believe he's also got a because we're going to basically just carbon copy steal his stuff. He made a video on this too, and I'll put that in chat.
Yeah, you guys definitely should check that out, and sub to him if needs be.
Yeah, surprise him with some.
I'm not ashamed
of
pimping out. I'm not ashamed of pimping out, like, other people's stuff who have done good shit for the community.
Absolutely.
So
TLDR. They're slowing down to test more before releasing new features. Server merges are going well, and they want to add more dynamic events to the open world.
Is that just...
That's the official video?
Oh, right.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Well, in that case,
in that case, go. I don't know if you've got some Reddit,
go off vote on Reddit. I guess like
if you've got some coin on Reddit, just go and shove some coin to Lone Wolf.
Apparently, he doesn't have a YouTube. My bad.
All right.
I did not click the link, so. So, anyways, they've got the server merges they're doing. They've got they're going to add more dynamic events to the open world. They plan to add more mob variety and cultures in the new world. So like we've seen kind of the intro of that with Ebonscale Reach. we're going to see more of that with Brimstone Sands.
It's going to be when that update comes out, like we're going to be falling over ourselves.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
conversationally.
I'm very
That's
much
just gonna
looking
be
forward
an
to
awkward thing.
it.
I think we're going to basically have to practice that. Like we're going to have to literally be just, you know, saying that like while rocking back and forth in the corner of the room, like, you know.
Too true.
Did we get it right?
So introducing new zones and revamping of old zones to keep all zones relevant. So this is going to be like that's a pretty solid commitment right there. That's a lot to keep updated. Mutators. This seems to be a big feature that they are actually pretty excited about, and they actually have an entire section about mutators. And we'll get back to that.
They said some interesting stuff about that though as well. They said that like they seem to be wanting to introduce kind of like rotating loot tables. So the loot tables, say in the first week of the mutators coming out, will be, you know, will allow you to basically get certain, you know, certain rewards, and then, you know, once week 2 comes along, those loot tables are going to change or something in some way, shape, or form, something along those lines. It was kind of interesting, actually.
I'm actually going to jump to the mutators section.
It was fairly. Is it there?
So basically, they have the discussion about how these mutators are going to work, and the goal is to make the expeditions, initially the expeditions, and eventually other content run differently, making it more complex, harder to run, and also not consistent. So running it with a specific mutator on is going to make it more difficult, but it won't be the same running it with, you know, a different one on. And this is designed to make them more difficult, as well as provide an incentive for that added difficulty to add some variety to builds, add some variety to how things are run and what the meta is for certain things. So this is actually going to be pretty important.
You may find that enemies start dealing different damage types that you expect, or sort of, you know, be less prone to damage that you're dealing, or certain damage that you're dealing. So you know, you may have to in those situations bring a variety of different different sets of gear or outfits and stuff like that in order to chop and change.
Mm-hmm. Now, what they also mentioned is that this could extend to other game modes like Outpost Rush, which could dramatically shift the meta, and make things actually pretty interesting. Like if if random match starts up and things shift a certain way, it might not be as easy for certain builds as it is for others. So it could be a very interesting mechanic. Obviously, there's going to be an entire dev blog on the mechanic itself, and that when it's closer to launch. And I'm assuming it's also going to be something that they're going to put on the PTR for testing extensively prior to launch.
I'm sure they will be.
Yes.
I think they did say something along the lines of that, the PTR is there and it's being used, but they want to make sure that, unlike the first initial iteration of the PTR and the sort of the content that they put on the PTR when they started it up, it was there for maybe a week, and then they shipped it out. That was more rapid than they wanted to do. Like, then they wanted PTR content to sit on the PTR before going to live in the future. And as you kind of saw it with the winter conversion stuff, they wanted to sort of leave the PTR content on the PTR for a longer period of time, so they're able to work through and get the feedback from players in a more holistic way, so they can actually squash as many bugs as they can.
Yes.
Anyway, bugs, as we were saying.
So bugs, bots, and bans. This was, as somebody who moderates a subreddit and has moderated 1,500 people person Discord, as well as a ton of other community spaces. This was an interesting section. They openly discuss that, hey, there were a lot of bugs. We moved too quickly in trying to fix them when we should have been focusing on ensuring that those fixes didn't cause other problems. Just trying to do too much too fast. And obviously there was a lot of stuff to fix, but fixing it without breaking other stuff is more important. From there, they talk about bots. Why reporting bots is difficult. That they want people to report bots. They do actively research into people who are being consistently reported for botting, to kind of gauge their behavior and see if they are doing something that is actually botting, or if they're just being non-responsive to other players. I've stated this a couple of times, and they actually stated it that they accidentally banned a couple of people who were actually just doing resource collection for their group and were actually at their keyboards.
They were just very good, very consistent, and very, very determined, I would say, to make sure that they got as much material and as much much stuff for their group as possible. That they ended up accidentally straying into, all the various different kind of all the various different what would you call them?
Red flags, warnings that basically automated warnings and meet the suspicion of being a bot because they're doing something that is just something that 99.9% of people wouldn't do, that bots would and can do, but there's also that 1%, or that 0.01% that does.
Yeah.
And they're the outlier.
Thankfully they did actually figure out and find out that they did make a mistake in that regard. So they are keeping an eye on making sure that they don't end up accidentally banning legitimate players.
Yes. Which goes into the conversation about bans. They talked in depth about bans, and I'm gonna say this in almost the exact way that they say this. The first line of protection for the game is easy anti-cheat. So, for those that don't know, easy anti-cheat is basically checking your memory and ensuring that you're not running malicious software that can interfere with the game. It's looking for very specific packages and very specific attempted edits to the memory that happen from those programs. This is to prevent obvious hacking and some other behavior that they don't like and don't want, like exploits and unfair gameplay. So that, for those that don't know, easy anti-cheat does have the ability to automatically ban you. They reiterate in no uncertain terms that is not a that is the only system that automatically bans anything.
Yeah.
Now, their moderation team does have access to all of the reports that are put in, but if you are receiving a ban, it is from a person. Now, what most of the time happens in these circumstances is that people will argue, hey, I got banned for nothing. Well, I could tell you as somebody who's managed the subreddit for long enough that, trust me, you got banned for a reason, and I can see the rest of your account history and it's pretty apparent on the reason. Like,
the funny thing is, the discrepancy between what one person's "oh, I did nothing" and another person's "I did nothing" is cataclysmically large.
mm-hmm.
Like it's ridiculous at times, and so just because somebody says like I didn't do anything, I wasn't abusive in chat, I was just having a laugh with somebody, I was just doing this, that, and the other, like it's just normal game banter, or it's just normal game speak. Like, no, this isn't the case.
Yes. Sorry, I got distracted. We have additional information on another topic, and that we'll break into after our coverage on the developer update here. So a few of the things that they wanted to reiterate is that there was absolutely no bans issued for mass reporting. Just because you're a mass reported does not mean that you are automatically banned. Now, if you are mass reported for doing something wrong that you actually did,
yeah, that's a different thing.
Then it's not the mass reports, it's the action that you did that caused the ban. Because they do have the ability to go back and review all of that information. So, that is very much a thing. Now, the other thing to note is that moderation actions don't necessarily happen immediately. They can take time. For instance, when they talked about banning bots, it often takes a consistent amount of time after being flagged to identify them as a bot and to, be able to actually say for sure that they are a bot.
Yeah, to action that particular item. Like, you may have reported that particular bot 5, 6, 7 times over the past 2 weeks, but like those reports and that the action to sort of to deal with that bot, like that goes into a queue, and you may not realize it because it may not may not be noticeable because you're only on a particular server, whereas there's an absolute litany of servers that people are on. They're crushing bots all the fucking time. They're crushing bots, they're crushing gold sellers all the time. They have to kind of go through through these reports, one at a time. Obviously they have like there's not just like one dude or one person kind of like going through the reports. There's a team going through these reports, but they can only go so quickly at a certain sort of pace, right? So eventually they will get to the reports that you've put. Like it's not going to be, it may take some time. That's what I'm trying to say. Just be cognizant of that.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I'm still going to state that they need to do better on is they need to do better on telling people exactly why they were banned.
Yeah, they need to up their game on that one.
Disruptive behavior. Okay, what did I do in the last 3 days that was disruptive? Because their definition and my definition are probably different. Their threshold for what violates community rules and your threshold for what violates community rules can be heavily tainted by what game you came from and or what games you're used to playing in those communities. For instance, if you came from the Rust community, you've probably got an insanely high bar of what constitutes disruptive behavior. And or just general appropriate human behavior towards other people. That community is not exactly the nicest group of people on the planet. But if you come from other games, there is the same level of bans and unfortunately they've also lumped bans and suspensions together into the same system. So sometimes it's telling you that, hey, you've been banned, but it's only a couple of day ban. This is the same thing on Reddit, where like when we issue a multi-day ban, like people just see banned and they freak out. and they're like,
Yeah.
I should be unbanned immediately, and it's like, no. Like, one, this is only a couple of days, and two, like, you're lucky it wasn't permanent.
In that kind of sense, like, I think they should probably end up using the term suspension for
Yes.
like permanent bans, and obviously bans used for actual permanent bans.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember, like, when I used to moderate a very heavily PvP centric server on another game that was quite partisan. There was a lot of heavy amount of PvP, like group PvP going on, so there was always a lot of issues with groups trying to get the I wouldn't say exploit, but abuse bugs to the fullest extent that they feel that they can get away with all the time. But when it came to actually moderating people out because of things that they did, things that bugs that they've been abusing that weren't tolerated, that kind of thing. Like when we banned somebody, we always used to show them the evidence, like, straight away. It was a case of, you're banned, this is the reason why you're banned, this is the evidence of this is the evidence that we used to come to the conclusion that you're exploiting, that you're doing something bad, that you're breaking the terms of that you agreed to play on this server. And that was the way that I kind of thought was very above board, very open, very transparent. And they could see why they were banned, they could see the reasonings, they could see what was what we used to sort of come to that conclusion. If Amazon Games came to that, like, to use that kind of system, to be that transparent when issuing bans, I think that would be a vast improvement.
Absolutely. And also, the other side of this is it makes appeals possible.
Yes, because it becomes a conversation.
Yeah, you did this. Well, hey, that wasn't me. Like, or like, I don't know what happened there. Like, something happened that caused this. I should have reported it, but my bad. Or, citing the language used for an abusive chat ban. I also think that if the only complaint against you is abusive chat, I think that instead of banning a person, I think they should be globally muted in all channels and just not have access to voice or text chat. I think that's a more creative ban for that specific category. So that's basically, the biggest takeaways from this is that, again, they're stating that, hey, there's no automated bans outside of easy anti-cheat, which, if easy anti-cheat bans you, people complain that easy anti-cheat is not particularly great at identifying exploits and doesn't catch everything. If easy anti-cheat bans you, you probably did something wrong. Like,
yeah, you're running something that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Typically.
Like, delete your modding software and you should be able to get back in the game. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, from bugs, bots, and bans.
Yes.
We go from there.
So, bugs, bots, and bans was a huge section. The fact that they're willing to talk about that was actually pretty big. Winter convergence. Oh god, it's Greg. Just popped up on like a large image of Greg's face. So, winter convergence. Obviously, the time of the taping and the time of this were interesting, to say the least. So, apologies for the bot. It's overly aggressive.
Yeah, he was just
our auto mod is trained by an authoritarian state.
No, it was just he was giving the link to Crown Concerts. It's all good.
Yep.
Anyway, the Winter Convergence stuff,
Yeah.
right? How did, like, just before we get into this, like, what did you think of the Winter Convergence? Like, how, like, you've been playing through a bit of it. Like, what do you feel? How are you feeling?
I think as a start, this shows some pretty solid. I think this shows some pretty solid. We're in this to run seasonal events. We're in this to have fun, and we're gonna try some new mechanics. Like, I think universally, everyone is happy with and enjoys the meteor shower mechanic. Because it is, if you haven't seen it, it is a spectacle.
I haven't seen it yet.
Let me see if I can find a link.
It'd be difficult to find a link of it. Like, I mean, I hope you do find a link to it, sort of thing. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I've seen a little bit of, you know, what's the stuff on the ground that you can mine? It's not coming to me. Anyway, I've seen a bit of that. Like, mined a little bit of that.
Here we go.
I was a little bit. Nice.
We're gonna turn
I was a little bit
up.
disappointed with the, you know, with the consumables that increase the amount that you mine, because obviously, you know, it doubles the amount that you mine, but you only get one, so like you get two out of the mineable kind of air, sort of mineable. See, now you got me kind of like wondering when this is gonna happen.
I don't know. It's a 2 minute and 17-second clip. So like,
got a 2x speed on it, man. Like,
well, but then we're gonna miss like it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
all right.
I want it to be
But,
seen
you know,
in its full glory. Oh, here it is.
Okay. Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
So the meteor spawns, falls down, and explodes, showering the area in gleamite, taking out the trees and knocking everything over. Like,
okay, that's really fucking cool.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the type
cool.
of mechanic, cool. You know,
like,
dynamic event that changes the world. Like,
so the really, so I would say that the really cool aspect of that is the fact that like the trees all react to it, like to the shit coming, like,
yes,
spraying down onto it, like, because you could very easily have just, you know, had those shower down and not have it affect anything really, and just sort of go through the trees. But the fact that the trees react in the way that they do is also fantastic.
Yes.
So that is really, really cool. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen a bit of gleamite on the ground before, and I've been like, you know, gone and, you know, mined a little bit, and was really sort of disheartened by the amount of gleamite that I got. Let's put it that way.
I took damage from the meteor shower. I got hit in the head by a big rock. Nice. Nice. Like, so like this is the kind of dynamic event that like they could add where, you know, like there could be a super rare chance of it happening, but if you're just around the world, it could drop, you know, a meteorite of legendary cinnabar or tolvium, or, you know,
that would be cool. Like,
that way, like, you're out in the world and all of a sudden, you know, you get, you know, almost hit with legendary stuff. You know, like that would be pretty epic.
A meteor of brutes.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, they should keep it and just have it spawn star metal, you know, in the short term.
That would be really cool. That would give it some reason for it being called star metal as well, aside from it being blue.
And also shout out to Tristan Pope, who's the guy who actually posted this video. His link is in chat. Please, if you guys can, please click through, sub to his channel, and thank him for posting quality New World content, because that was just what we needed at the right time.
Yay! Thank you, content creators out there. But yeah, like, I've been enjoying it. Like, it's got some quirkiness to it. I like the fact that the section of the conversation, the interview kind of, or this this video, they talked about how the winter convergence isn't just like this one-off thing that they're just doing, because it's the winter and they wanted to produce some content. Like, they want this to be an evolving thing that happens every winter, sort of thing that comes around every winter. They want to kind of evolve and expand on the whole idea of Yetis as a sort of as a species almost, and I think that's really cool.
Exactly. I also like kind of the cultural aspects of it and the outfits. Like they're kind of like a combination of Inuit and like polar populations of different like, it's not like you can't tie it to any specific group, but the influences from variety of groups can be seen in them, and it's really kind of cool to see.
It's like taking taking an aspect of a civilization or a native aspect of a native people, and then just putting it in a melting pot and kind of seeing what comes out the other end in terms of how other cultures kind of influence it. It's cool.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting.
I also like the Tree of Light upgrades. So you have a reason to run town board missions again. They're profitable. I think that the rewards are good for this. Having combination of skins, weapons, and that across all 5 tiers of gear, to include furniture and some pets and stuff for your house. As well as also instead of just dropping the item for the 520 gear score item, you can also have the crafted the schematic so that you can build it at a much higher level.
So the interesting thing there is I like the fact that they've done that, because when you get the gear score, like when you get the sort of like the standard kind of stuff that you get from the store, right? Like they're set as like you wanted intelligence on this, like if you wanted intelligence on something, or if you wanted like focus on something and it doesn't come with focus, like they could have just left it and be like, you're straight out of luck. But they included these patterns so you could actually build it yourself, or build the kind of look that you want. But you can also control the output to some degree. So if you did want it to be, to have certain attributes that isn't listed in, say, the regular straight ones that you get from the store, you can do so, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. I also think that like they've adding in the combination of like the lost presence out in the world, the Gleamite, just the different events that you can do, and the missions. Which the last mission you should not run alone. It's a level 60 mission, and that is an understatement because it is level 66 when you get to the last one. And you're gonna need some help because it's not alone.
Yeah, the 2 parts before the final one are challenging. Like you can do them solo if you know what you're doing and if you have the right kind of stuff with the right kind of level of expertise, right? Mm-hmm. Even low kind of expertise, like I'm kind of with A's in that regard. Like my gear score is in sort of like the 520 area, and I was able to do the first part of the final quest solo. The second part, when I got there, it was being run by somebody else, and we sort of teamed up and kind of went through it. But yeah, the final bit, yeah, no, it's not. I don't think it's soloable. Like, I think maybe there will be one person who will be able to do it solo, and they'll record it and put it on YouTube and just be like, suck it, I can do this solo sort of thing. But for most people, for the majority of people, even if you have like gear score 600 stuff, you probably won't be able to do it solo, especially if you trigger the entire room at the same time. Because I've seen what the entire room can do, and it will wipe groups of level 60s.
Yes.
Not small groups either.
Yes. I think the first time I did it with 2 people, and we both died twice. And then by the 3rd time, somebody else had run up, and we were like, okay, maybe we can do this with 3. And then 2 other guys ran in as we were taking on the boss, and it was like, okay, this we can do. But it is not an easy mission. Yeah. But yeah, like I have a positive impression of the Winter Convergence event. I think that it's overall been well received. I think that some things should get more reward points than others, or like more experience points than others. Like doing the Tree of Light stuff in town should get substantially more XP than it does like the actual town board missions. Because how I leveled almost exclusively was go to every town, grab the Tree of Light, and go to every winter. I forget what they're called, the winter villages, and grab the bountiful gifts out of there. And if you do that, you get 150 XP towards the expedition or towards the event for each of them, which is way more than the 5 XP you get for doing town board missions or picking up presents randomly.
Yeah. The picking up presents randomly in the world, like it is, I think, is sort of on the right levels of balance for sort of like the starter areas and sort of like the intermediate areas. But I think when it comes to sort of like the sort of areas that really you should only be level 60 when running through kind of thing, or high level 50 sort of thing, I kind of feel like, and I don't know whether other people feel like this, but like I kind of feel that they could ramp up the rewards for picking up presents there, like not by much at all. Like I think maybe sort of doubling the amount, so you get 2 presents and like 10 reputation points, right? Would be enough for say high level players to not be roaming around the low level areas, like hoovering up all of the presents there. Yeah, if there's just enough of an incentive for high level players to sort of like stick into high level areas because it's a little bit more efficient, then those high level players will do it.
Absolutely.
Kind of leave a little bit more presence, a few more presents and experience for the lower level players in the sort of like starter areas and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. We're going to talk about new weapons.
Ooh.
So this one, they didn't just hint at new weapons, they actually talked about them. The next one that appears to be on the block for coming into the game is going to be the blunderbuss.
I was about to say, it's something that somebody said isn't going to be a thing in the game because you clearly were misguided in some way, shape, or form. But you were like, no, it's going to be a thing. And lo and behold.
Absolutely. I need to find a specific image.
Yes. The guy firing a blunderbuss in the cemetery image. I imagine this is what you're looking for,
yes, right? That's the one that I'm looking for. Because here's the thing. One, people called me crazy, and I didn't know what I was talking about. It was, how could I possibly know that that's a blunderbuss? It doesn't look like a blunderbuss, but it definitely is.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's going to take me 6 years to find.
Oh, it's going to take 6 years to find. But the thing is, like, when we were looking at this, it was a case of this didn't look like a regular musket. Because we knew what a regular musket looks like, in terms of like, the barrel and all that kind of stuff. Like, it looked shorter than a regular musket. It looked stouter than a regular musket. It also had a kind of it looked, at least from the image that we had, it looked like it had a flared end, which muskets don't have, right? And so we came to the conclusion that this must be a blunderbuss. Obviously, there's been a few like a few kind of skins out there that have made the appearance of a made the appearance of a musket look more shotgun-like. I have that skin because I think that's it's kind of hilarious to make a musket look like a shotgun to some degree. But you know, this is well, the thing is, like, I always consider a blunderbuss to be a shotgun, like from the hints at what the specials and what the sort of like the masteries and stuff are going to be. I'm wondering what it's going to be. Whether it's
so it is supposed to be a short range. It is supposed to be a short range weapon based on what they announced. It's supposed to be kind of a run and gun style, you know, shotgun, but also very explosive type usage. So I think it's gonna be quite useful. Is there seriously?
You know,
there's an ad playing.
It happens. It happens. It happens, dude.
Apologies for the ad. On the upside, it'll give me time to look for this image.
You see, it's coming in and trying to help you out in some weird and twisted way. There we go. So it was a short one, it seems. But it's still.
See, I've got ad in progress with a minute remaining on it. So some of you might have been spared.
These things happen. One of the other interesting things is there was a couple of other sort of hints as to new weapons, and one of them was definitely the daggers as well. But we will definitely get into those as well. Hopefully you'll find this this particular image. It's being elusive, is it?
Oh my god, dude! There it is.
Hey.
And it's way too big, but we need to zoom in anyways. Now, first glance,
you guys, you guys probably would have seen it. You guys probably would have seen this. Know this image. It's from quite a while back.
Yeah. Anybody who's subbed to the channel doesn't have to deal with ads for sure. Because we have turned that off. So I'm going to zoom in on this about as close as I can. And you can see the barrel here is most of the weapon. It's much blockier. It has a massive flintlock system here. And the top of the barrel looks different as well. You know, this is not, and this you know, for anybody who's curious, this image is from 2019 December. So putting that out there, that has been something that has been hinted at for a very long time. And in this case actually shown. 2
years at this point.
Yeah. So I called that years ago. People called me crazy. This is my moment of zen. When I can turn around and be like, gotcha.
Told you.
Yep. So between that, daggers, there has been some rumblings about a potential polearm. You know, which personally, as somebody who enjoys polearms and stuff like that, I would very much like to see them in the game. More than just spears. Spears are great, but let's add in some variety and, you know, maybe a halberd or you know, something like that. They also said greatsword is something that they're working on. You know,
two-handed greatswords,
two-handed greatsword. So that will very much be a thing. I believe daggers are meant to be a two-handed weapon as well.
I think they talked very briefly about like the ability to have a shield and another weapon other than a sword. But they said that like it's kind of still very much, you know, something that they're not working on as such at the moment, because there's a lot of things that would need to, you know, be modified, changed in order for that to actually function properly. And one of the things you can kind of see is, for example, when you look at the say the sword kind of masteries, one side of the mastery kind of tree is sword, and one side of the mastery tree is shield, right? It kind of makes sense that some of the one-handed weapons should have their mastery trees kind of moved around so that you can actually, cut one side of the tree out and put a shield mastery tree there, and vice versa, and that kind of stuff. But I think that level of implementation, or that level of like augmentation of mastery trees, is something that they, that they're going to have to spend a long time working on in order to actually get functional. But I believe, at least, from looking at the mastery tree for the sword and shield, that like they are hinting that they want to kind of do that. It's going to take a good long while to really figure out and implement how to actually best do that, especially when it comes to the mastery trees.
Mm-hmm. As the question's been asked a couple of times in chat, we're not going to be able to avoid it. Mounts. Yeah. Mounts were not discussed in the hour and a half here. However, a content creator by the name of Sir Medieval was able to get an interview back closer towards launch, where they were able to ask some really in-depth questions and get a solid opportunity to ask about mounts. And it is something that they are considering. It is something that we've seen files in the game for. But they have stated that if they were to add mounts, they would want to do it in some sort of robust way that makes sense, and is a deeper mechanic than just shoehorning a mount system in.
Yeah, or just pulling a horse out of your pocket.
Yeah. So there's no additional detail to that, but if you want to hear the original information from Sir Medieval, he's one of the people I would highly recommend going to check out. So, So we had new weapons, late game progression. As I find the right spot in the video. This is difficult to do in an hour and a half long video, is actually find the right time to pause these things. They just roll right into it, don't they? So anyways, they talk about late game progression as well, and how that didn't necessarily fit with what they wanted, and how they're going to continue to move forward on it. They're also talking about quest and lore, continually adding new quests, continually adding more lore, adding to the story, finishing the story arc about Isabella. And
this is one thing that I think people have kind of not realized is like, I think people kind of think that the story of Isabella and the sort of the current main quest line, as it were, is just that that's the story of New World and that's it. Like, I think the thing people have to realize is no, that's merely the first of first of maybe many stories that's going to play out in New World.
Exactly. So it should be very interesting to see how this kind of comes to be. See what other new big bad guys get added in, and yeah, it should overall be exciting. If you guys want to watch the entire hour and a half, I'm gonna post the video link in chat. It is an hour and a half, so be prepared. Get yourself some provisions and. It's all good information, and it might counter some of the information that that some others have spread out there.
Watch it like an hour and a half long sort of good program. Like just cast it to your TV and like chill out and sit back on the sofa and just spend an hour and a half, just enjoying new stuff about New World. Yes.
So, on our next topic here, they have actually altered the way that they want people to report exploits, not bugs, exploits. Bugs can
Yes.
still be reported, in the normal way. But when it comes to exploits, this is things that give people an unfair advantage. Things like duplications and stuff like that that would be detrimental to the game if they are released into the wild. Because perception is reality. If the entire player base thinks that duping is, everyone and their mother is doing it, and they're the only person on the planet who's not duping in game, then they're wrong. The reality was that it's far fewer people than anybody would think were actually involved in it, but because it got broadcasted all over everywhere, that it became something that was incredibly difficult to clean up. It wasn't that there wasn't an attempt to fix it, because obviously there's an attempt to fix it. The challenge is then cleaning up the damage caused by the sharing of that exploit to more people,
to other people. Yeah, to the world, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, I when sort of putting this together, they hadn't actually fixed the bug reports or the bug/exploit report kind of form on the forums. It's actually nice to see that they have actually adjusted it. I think that change actually happened today, because I think it was like earlier on today, going through this, they still had the please use this template for reporting bugs/exploits, and it was still sort of how please include reproduction steps. And so I'm glad that they've gone and actually gone in and changed that that template for people, and said that if you're trying to report an exploit, please go here and directly message Luxandra or Trevsner.
Yes. And they stated a number of times that these kind of exploits are things that they actively want to fix, because of course if you found it, somebody else will have found it too. But making sure that it's reported and making sure that they have visibility on it before it becomes widespread is how it gets fixed without causing closures to the marketplace and wealth transfer being completely shut off across the game. This is actually the argument that I had on Reddit. As one of the Reddit mods, I there are certain battles and certain amount of crap that I'm willing to take from people, but like that was a losing battle in that stuff kept getting posted all day every day, and you'll
find that bad actors will kind of utilize the sort of like this sort of almost like free speech kind of we'll say like, oh, it's a free speech thing, or like you're trying to suppress people showing like issues from the game, try and sort of like play up that the game is like not as broken as it is. It's like, no, it's not that. It's the fact that if you put down reproduction steps and sort of broadcast them to the world, you should expect that the fallout for that is more people are going to use those exploits and going to break the game even further. Like you're not really solving the problem by broadcasting it. Like the devs need time to sort of to actually go through it and implement a fix. In the process of them doing that, broadcasting it to the world more and more and more doesn't actually fix the game or make things better. It just makes things worse.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any more of a priority than it already was to fix. It was obviously a priority from the start, and you can tell that they had a lot of trouble dealing with it because they had to shut down all wealth transfer, backtrack transfers, and ensure that the money was taken out of the game. That's substantial. That's a lot of effort that has to go into that, and a lot of effort that has to go into the cleaning up of this type of stuff. So I think that's...
I'm glad that they've changed that, because like the in-game reporting of bugs and stuff was sort of a throwback to when it was a closed beta and closed alpha, because they You know, they when the game went live, it's like they kind of forgot that the reporting of bugs and stuff, and the template that they used, that they requested people to use to implement it or to sort of report bugs and exploits and stuff, was still back when, you know, was still basically the same when, you know, when the game was closed to the general public. So the you know, I'm glad that they finally gone around to actually solve that and sort that out. So it's going to prevent a lot more headaches, you know, further down the road.
Yes. Apologies. I'm trying to read ahead to our next topic here. This also launched during our show, which is yet another bit of breaking news. Apologies that it took us 42 minutes to get to this, but this is worth talking about as well. Basically, now that they've done server merges, they wanted to explain, hey, we had issues. You know, for instance, they're going to continue to monitor with an eye towards stability and unforeseen issues, but they had issues where we found that when multiple housing plots are stacked from merging or transfers, we reach an unsafe level of persistent data, which can cause instability or potential loss of persistence, meaning if the bug is tripped, your house may disappear. This is why servers could have been merged more, but they chose not to, in order to prevent this from triggering. This is why, like, some world sets merged into 2 servers, some of them merged into 1, some of them merged into 3. You know, it's a much larger variety of the number of people being merged. So that was kind of an interesting factor there. You know, the other thing, of course, and this was announced in the patch notes as well here, is that they are going to be resetting people's faction transfer cooldowns as of the patch tomorrow morning. That means that if you're looking to join your friends, provided that they're not in the largest or controlling faction, where they control the most amount of territories on a server, you can join them. There is, of course, the mechanic that prevents that if they are the majority faction, which maybe you can convince your friends to switch sides to a side that you can all play on, you know, and provide some balance.
Who'd have thought
we can hope. We can hope. That's what our company did, so I'm pretty happy about that. I think our switch to Syndicate was well deserved and has provided us with a lot of new content, and a very balanced server.
Good. It does seem like a very balanced server at the moment, which is great.
Yes. So something happened last week that, or in the last few days, that we were planning on covering on this show. A content creator received a DCMA strike on YouTube from Amazon Games, related to a bug that they had submitted to Amazon in efforts to relating to the new above level 200 you get the additional counters, and the bug is that if you do too much, you can only get a maximum of 3 full levels before it no longer gives you any more than that. Now, that is a lot of stuff, but that is obviously not an intended bug, and it's not something that Amazon planned to sweep under the radar or anything like that. But we'll get to that. So Amazon issues this DCMA strike and scares the ever-loving crap out of this content creator and throws everyone for a loop, because, oh god, is Amazon coming at, like, is this the new policy that Amazon's coming after people for posting bugs? Like, you know, this isn't going to be pretty if that's the case. Well,
yeah.
Thank God.
A lot of people kind of, a lot of people initially reacted to this in the sense of like, is this like they're now going to suppress people, and like if you talk bad about the game, like they're going to just DCMA strike you, or like, you know, is you know, that's the nightmare scenario that content creators are concerned about, because like if you can't critique something, you know, positively or negatively, like, you know, like, you know, where's your content going to come? Like, what are you going to do with regards to content when it comes to sort of, you know, enjoying and making content about something that you either, you know, you feel passionately about, right? Like positively and negatively.
Exactly.
So people got really concerned.
And on top of that, you know, like there's a certain measure of, you know, oh well, you know, people just need to have the balls to do it. And the reality is, if you have a built-up YouTube or Twitch channel, you know, I'd love to say that we could go full-time off our channel, but we're nowhere near that.
Oh no,
you know,
no. Like we're still
like many people are, you know, and
yeah.
For instance, that's not something that you're going to risk.
So
you know,
there's nightmare scenarios in this. Like there is, like not too long ago, there was a content creator that created various different, I would say sort of critiques and various different content based around sort of an anime studio or various different anime kind of sort of projects coming out of a Japanese studio, and essentially, you know, that's a business. Like the guy had, you know, the guy ran a business. This was his business. He literally employed, you know, 3 or 4 people full time, as such. And the studio that brought out the various different animes or various different kind of like Japanese kind of cartoons and stuff, DCMA'd every single video on that channel. Like literally wiped out his ability to make money, as well as the ability for him to you know, help with you know, to pay his staff with, like full-time staff with, like. So it's a nightmare scenario that people don't want to, you know, that people are getting really concerned about with regards to DCMA strikes on YouTube.
Yeah,
but thankfully,
you know, the other side of this is, you know, people will say, oh, you know, you could just rebuild. You know, for reference, it's taken us 2 years to build this channel to this size.
Yeah,
you know,
we haven't really.
The prospect of doing
started.
that from scratch is not pretty.
Yeah.
So a thing happened that I didn't think was going to happen twice in one day. I've already said on stream once that I agreed with Asmongold on something, because he does provide meaningful and quality feedback. I think that occasionally he can be a little over the top, but and a little over dramatic, but at the same time, he has managed to hit the you know, doing the right thing twice for me in the same day.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is he did a he kind of did a reaction stream or reaction video for the NWO Team Update, the 90-minute sort of like a, you know, walkthrough of content and stuff like that from the NWO devs. Like, and surprisingly, there was a like, I mean, I say surprisingly, I guess it shouldn't be really that surprising at the end of the day, but like, there were a lot of his opinions of what was said were very on point. And you know, I remember it was just like, this is a really weird situation. Like, I am agreeing with Asmongold quite a lot when it comes to this, you know, his run through of this 90-minute kind of team update. And then this happens.
So yesterday he posted a different video than this. He has taken down the prior video for preventing misinformation from going out, where he covers this individual who got the DCMA strike against them, and basically, you know, raises the alarm bells of, hey, this is something to be concerned about. You know, I had it on our show notes for, hey, this is something I want to talk about, because, like, you know, being in a position in the community that we could potentially help is always something that we want to do, you know. And when it comes to DCMA strikes and stuff like that, if Amazon wants to go down that battle and have that battle with the content creators, we will be among the first to pick up the pitchforks, because that is just not something that the community should ever accept. You should never be censoring people. Now, since then, Amazon reached out to the individual and reached out to Asmongold to clarify what had happened. So we actually have our own Discord. So
really functioning right now, but I'll grab the other link.
Is it broken?
We'll clear it up.
Right.
Yeah, it's broken, but it should get fixed. But like, I'll grab the other one. You can carry on with what you're saying.
They reached out to Asmongold to clarify what had happened. So, in the reporting process, it was not aimed at the individual. It was aimed at an ad that had been playing during the actual thing, and unfortunately, the individual who created the content, instead of the AdSense ad, got nuked in the process. So basically, it was the definition of human error. They did not intend on hitting him for doing this bug reporting.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be a copyright strike on the content that content creator created. It was just some just sort of some overzealous reaction to a AdSense advert that promoted a coin seller.
Yes. Which naturally is something that, of course, you do want them to be going after. You don't want them to be accepting that their content is for sale and that they're selling coins on the market, on black markets, and that's not something that you want to have happen. So I think the confusion, and this is necessarily one of the things that is important to note, is that the confusion here is that on occasion there have been content creators who have put ads of their own in their content for these gold sellers. This is not the case there. The individual who was reporting this did so in the wrong way. They corrected that's not the policy. This is not something that we're aiming to do. We encourage people to report bugs. We want to see it. And if it's, as like exploits, we want to see privately. So like, you can put it to YouTube, but put it up as private and send it over. But like, it's not the end of this is that they cleaned it up, and it's not the policy of Amazon to do any kind of censorship around, bugs or anything around the game like that. So that was very good to see.
I do want to say, I do want to give a particular shout out and say thank you very much to Asmongold. Like, I know that there's a lot of other people who, tried to surface this issue with Amazon, but like it does help when a prolific content creator and somebody who has a lot of reach, does make an effort to actually sort of surface this issue.
Yeah, so, it's difficult to ignore a guy with almost 1 million subscribers on Facebook or on YouTube.
It is. It's very difficult.
Yeah, they could potentially ignore us, although they haven't had much luck at that. But that said, it's very difficult to ignore somebody like him who is going to get people riled up. And that's and in this case, 100%, this was the right thing to do. It was well timed. It was well needed, and in defense of something that I think all content creators should be able to get behind. And
he did a great job as well. You did a great job as well as in terms of managing the potential misinformation as well, which is also fantastic.
Yes, he could have by cleaning up his old video and making sure that people were not having access to that to say, hey, here's the speculation about what was going on here and why we need to raise alarm. Now it's, hey, actually, this isn't a problem. we've solved this. This is, when he actually says, hey, I believe Amazon, they've got no reason to lie on this. This makes sense.
Yeah.
And the end result is that we know that their policy is not what the worst case scenario was.
Exactly.
We know that their policy is not to censor people. So that is very good to see. Very, very good to continue.
It gives us hope, and it gives us confidence as content creators as well.
Absolutely. So wanted to take a moment and talk about that. Now, on the topic of continuing things that have happened, because this show hasn't been long enough, we're going to go into the developers playing New World, and
this
is a combination of they are not bad, they're well organized, and they clearly understand the mechanics of their own game. So the stem of this,
things still get a little on top of them, and a little bit intense. Let's put it this way.
Yes, it is not a flawless victory, that is for sure, and it ends in chaos.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yes. So the community basically challenged the developer team to go play the game. We want you to go into MyrkGuard, take a group into MyrkGuard at X gear score, and see if you can run it, and see if you agree with the rest of the community that, hey, this is a bit much. So they took the challenge, decided that 520 gear score was reasonable, and they brought 10 people. In my opinion, they brought the wrong composition. They needed a couple more healers, and at least one or more tanks, and less DPS. So that being the case, they do reasonably well for their gear score, for their for all of this. They make a number of comments throughout this whole thing about they run into elite chests that drop all green items.
It is that
literally.
Oh
well, that sucked.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was that sucked as a loot spawn. Like, thanks. You make the game, dude. Like, this is what we've been dealing with as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad you're now feeling our pain.
Exactly. So they make it most of the way through this. They're not going to showcase the whole thing. The link again, I'll provide this in chat. This is of course a comical thing. You can hear all of them talking in a team chat. It's totally worth listening to. It's about 50 minutes long, 55 minutes, almost 56 minutes. It's worth listening to see their perspectives on things.
I do kind of like the sort of almost passive aggressive kind of like tips that come up.
Yes. And inevitably ends in failure. Now, the reason that it ends in failure is that a corrupted commander respawns at a very unfortunate timing while they're running a portal, and somebody accidentally triggers it and, of course, most of the portal. So, at level 65, regardless of your group size, if you over-trigger major mobs, like named mobs, you are going to have a bad time, regardless of the size of the group that you're in, because you need to be able to focus on them. You need to have your full group there, and if you're at low health when this starts, which is what happens to them, they're at low health. Their healer has all of his stuff on cooldown, and all of a sudden you see a corrupted commander come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh god!
Oh shit! Yeah,
and they all start dying.
That's a moment of terror there.
Now, I do think, and there is some fair criticism that was brought up on our Discord about how MyrkGuard is labeled. MyrkGuard is labeled as level 60 content that 5 people can run.
Yeah, okay.
They're 10, and they die consistently.
I mean, if you're the right, yeah, I guess if you're the right 5 people with like max gear and all the kind of like corruption trophies and all of that jazz, right? Like, yeah, you could probably run it with five dudes.
Best way to get experience or best way to get expertise right now is gypsum. Like, just do all the different things for gypsum. You know, there's also the open world chests that are still worth running. And killing named mobs and stuff like that are all entirely worth it. And
grabbing the sort of the various different things from the trees in is it the trees that give you the gypsum, the holiday sort of gypsum?
Yes.
So like that's probably the easiest way of being able to get like one gypsum orb, as it were. Or one particular sort of orb, like it is to run those. Like, but in terms of farming expertise, like to some degree, farming expertise is a little bit sort of time gated, and it's sort of time gated so that you know, hardcore like no lifer players don't like, you know, end up getting to 600 expertise like in a day. But yeah, yeah, this is an interesting interesting kind of look at how even the developers are playing the game and their reactions to the various different mechanics and how they interweave, and you know, 3 of them just like straight up die right there.
Yes,
it's fantastic moments in it.
Yeah, it showcases the frustration that the players feel, but also that, you know, again, in order to mechanically do some of the things they do, like, you know, the guy who's tanking, like Scott is a great tank. Like, in my opinion, like he actually knows how to keep his taunt, he knows how to block, you know, knows how to stay in positions where he can continually get health, you know, and when he can no longer tank. So I think that's actually a pretty solid thing. You know, I think it shows a lot that they do actually understand the game that they're developing.
Yeah, and David Farfalle, I believe, is one of the combat mechanic leads, or is
he's the creative director?
Oh, he's the creative director. He also is fairly hands-on with the combat mechanics as well, I believe.
Yes. Yes. So basically, I think this has a lot of value. If anybody wants to watch the full thing, be more than, you know, I think we posted the link already in chat there. And yeah, so lastly, we did want to show that Scott Lane shows a remarkable resemblance to James Halliday in Ready Player One. I felt that this was required to mention on the show, and frankly, is yet another cameo of him looking a lot like other people, because he's also looked, he's got a video out there somewhere that he looks just like Steve Buscemi with like the same outfit, and he's got a couple of them, and it's you know, the comparisons are uncanny, and it's quite comical. I thought it was a nice attribute as well, because of course Ready Player One is a phenomenal movie if anybody hasn't seen that. And, you know, James Halliday is, of course, a phenomenal inspiration within that movie, about game and development.
You know, if he used a lot of volumizer on his hair, he could probably potentially be Garth from Wayne's World.
And yeah, so some last reminders: the Winter Convergence giveaway. Make sure to log in, collect the stuff there. If you have Prime Gaming, make sure to check out the link provided here. to go get your Thespian pack, which includes kind of this battle run jester kind of look, in my opinion.
And if on that, I found this out when I was claiming it. But if that page comes up and there is a sort of a window in the middle of it saying claimed, just literally click out of it so you get to this without the window, and then you can claim the latest pack. Just so you know.
So, aside from that, that is the massive amount of content that we were able to cover. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank New World Database, NWDB.info, as our new partner. We very much appreciate you guys, and this is, of course, our last show until Christmas, and we may or may not have a show next week, depending on a variety of things. That said, our shows are normally Tuesday, starting at 6 for the pre-show, 7 for the 7 Eastern for the regular show, and of course, we enjoy hearing from you guys. I do have one small request. We are currently looking for Discord boosters. If you have Discord Nitro, we're in need of one booster because we're about to lose one of our boosts, and that's going to bring us back under the requirement to keep our custom link.
Okay.
Which we've been playing yo-yo with it for the last week, where like there's some coming and going, and yeah. So if anybody has that and wants to make things less painful, it'd be super appreciated. And of course, I want to thank our subscribers, our followers, all of the people in chat, and
all of those gifted subs were fantastic, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you very much, by the way.
All of those gifted subs were wonderful. And frankly, we do this for you guys. We do this because the community is as great as it is. And, as we always love to say, we'll see you guys in the new world.